The new
Dream Big. And we're dreaming big in many related subjects. Hey, how are you?
As big as the ocean.
Nice.
I'm singing.
Yo.
Hey.
Hey, please,
I love your trendy.
You don't.
Yes, UK, hey, fashion. All right. Since we're not supposed to
people
come.
say you are looking nice today.
Oh, thank you to people.
I love that. This is the second time
Thank you
I
to
think
people.
Go and charge them.
Yes, sir.
Your
Yes, sir. Who are you?
Yes, Debbie.
I'm on force.
Well, guys, it's today is 6th. 6th November. Yeah.
Or 37th October.
Ah, more like that.
I think 37 will do.
Christmas is coming. Yeah.
Everybody is prepared.
Well, good morning. Just join us.
Christmas is prepared for Christmas this year.
Nobody is prepared. Well, I thought we were in good mood.
Apart from you and you know.
No, but I felt the Christmas weather yesterday in the afternoon. You know, that's dry kind of thing. Yeah. The weather is beginning to be Christmas kind of.
Where do you live?
You know the Christmas weather, right?
Yeah, I know.
You mean Hamatan?
I don't feel but this is it's just like
but when you live in the eastern region,
really
usually you know the vegetation is like that.
She's making it sound romantic, as if like there's
Christmas.
snow,
Christmas is nice.
Christmas weather,
Christmas
like
is nice.
when everybody brings out their winter coats.
That's
and,
right.
Okay, nothing.
Throw snowballs at each other.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the weather is beginning to.
What's the Ghanaian equivalent of a snowball?
Oh.
Do we have one?
Charlie, India go baby. I say.
But I see ice block.
Let's stick to the
I see ice block
when we blow opaque vapor at each other.
It used to be when we used to.
Let's do
I'm
the
not
newspapers.
Sure, down south, maybe up north or somewhere.
You've experienced snow before?
Oh no.
In Ghana? Because you say it used to be when we were.
No. He's talking about
opaque vapor.
Opaque vapor. But do we? No, not sure.
But now it's raining. It's raining. Around this time. It's. I'm wondering what to expect.
Because usually it wouldn't rain within the Hamatan.
Yeah.
We might have a delay, but you never know. I mean, look, things are changing so
We're
much.
not God.
It may never appear until June next year.
The weather people
unlike,
are not
unlike
God.
the president who knows what God will and won't do, apparently. You heard him yesterday.
Isn't that the politics of it?
Well, I mean, he said God will not return the NDC to. He said, in fact, his words literally, he said, that is not what God is going to do. Charlie, sometimes some people, they get the inside track,
It depends on which side you are. I mean, God is sitting there. It depends on which side you feel you are.
It's kind of like,
We have to do the newspapers.
David built God, what's it called, a temple. And as a result of that, they say God loved David, right? So they were close, they were tight. Maybe our president too, because he's building, Anyway, all right. I have the Today newspaper, the Publisher, the Daily Statesman, and the Daily Graphic.
I'll do the Finder, the Ghanaian Times, Roland's uncle's paper, the Daily Dispatch.
And I'll do the rest.
All right, so let's start off with the Finder. Front page of the Finder, that's his uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I give the paper to him and then he gives it back to me.
I see. Conflict of interest. He doesn't want any friends and family.
Because when they trace the genealogy, they may trace it to Benefson.
So let's do the Finder. Front page of the Finder newspaper. Here we go. Voters will retain NPP based on good policies, according to President Akufo-Addo. Also expect plan to protect journalists before year end. That's the information minister. Patients sharing beds at the Tatali District Hospital. Now, this one breaks my heart. We will share details of it after the headlines. Teacher unions kick against payment for teacher professional licenses. Let's follow up with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page of the Times, suspend payments of license fees. 3 teacher unions appeal to National Teacher Council. Also, don't transact business with fraudulent financial institutions, according to the Bank of Ghana. I'm sure once you hear this, you're wondering, did they give a list of the fraudulent ones? And if they are, why are they still in existence? Why are they still in business? ACP Agojo charged with abetment to commit treason, rejects Mahama's comeback bid, president to Ghanaians. And on the back page of the paper, work to begin on Ho Aflawo Road, according to the roads minister. Experts brainstorm on seed sector innovation change. Back page stories on or in the Ghanaian Times newspaper today. Let's finish off with the Daily Dispatch. That's the last newspaper for me. Front page. Benefson tells NDC it's too late to collate ideas for manifesto. Haruna Atta on free SHS ambassadors in our classrooms. Parliament urged to check on GMPC's expenditure. All that you need to know about the arrest of ACP Dr. Ben Agojo is in the paper today. NDC lists 51 names in NPP governments, calling it classic nepotism. And that was captured in our news a while back, if you missed it. That's it for me. That's it. The Daily Dispatch.
Okay. Are you going to go next? Or should I? Okay. All right. So I have the Today Publisher, Statesman, and Graphic. We'll do them in that order. First, a quick question. Which is bigger, piece of land or tract of land?
Piece of land?
Or tract of land?
Tract.
Which is bigger?
Why am I? Okay, anyway. Must one be bigger? Well. Anyway, today, banner headline in their paper is Osafo Mafo's woes deepen as Auditor General rejects his reply. A security couple defends top cops, and that's about Colonel Festus Abuaje, who, well, the story doesn't mention it, but he was interviewed here on the JoyNews channel. High Court orders seizure of warehouse of former NIB boss's son. DML unveils amphibious multipurpose dredgers to control floods. And on the back, take football away from politics. Dr. Papakwesi Ndum is the one credited with that statement. Kotoko players given 5-day break, and Kome counting on experience against Lopez. A big bout coming up. Ghanaian Publisher next. Banner headline, Sanitation Authority in the offing. That's according to Dr. Baumia. This is something that calls have started to come for. Koniwas has been calling for it. And it appears the government plans to do
authority.
A sanitation authority. So,
would it even change anything? Would an authority change anything? I mean, let's go back to what we have. It won't change anything. Let's just deal with it.
So will they employ new people
to that's what
man this authority?
That's what you mean. The extra costs, because now you have a CEO, you have deputy and deputies, you have director of operations, director of finance, deputy, blah 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 blah.
You have some friends occupying some authority, so you seem to know the structure so well.
We'll just spend the money, the budgets on the structure and appointments.
But the theory is that look, wherever there is an authority, they can eat, sleep, and dream that particular aspect of whichever broad sector they fall under. So the Ghana Highway Authority can focus on highways. You know, give me another one, Maritime Authority. You know, even though they sit under big ministries that are mandated to do the job, when you create an authority, they can put everything aside and focus on that. And if ever there was a sector of our lives that requires single-minded focus, it's sanitation. So if the idea here on paper is that we want to get people who are not under health ministry, the health director, because you know at the moment environmental protection officers all report to health directors at the local level. Health director has a million other things he has to focus on. So it is an argument to make that perhaps he's unable to focus the amount of time sanitation needs.
So beyond the fact that we've established a ministry, a sanitation ministry, now we need an authority, a sanitation authority. Because a ministry is
a political entity. There aren't, they don't employ the operative, the operatives that are supposed to be out there.
I tell you what, we're going to establish
this
authority, and it will be the same political people who are going to appoint all the people in there. And it will be the same authority that when they are under-resourced or they are trying to be firm, they would receive letters from wherever and they won't be able to speak. I'm not confident in that. I just say, let's do what we're doing. If we can get the assemblies, you know, try and do the collaboration and tackle it.
Well, the truth is that the assemblies have all the bylaws they need to enforce to ensure that there's better sanitary conditions in their environment. And that is why I think that instead of having the authority, that is why we have even decided to decentralize. So the local authorities then deal with sanitation. The thing is that they've not been able to deal with
authority.
it. We have a cultural problem.
Anyway, maybe somebody knows something that I don't know. But from where I sit, chai.
I mean, what I would like to see.
Well, they can create it. Maybe I'll get a job
there. Before they spend, even a penny on this, what I would like to see is a bit of analysis. That, okay, so these are the reasons why the current system isn't working. These are the reasons. When you go to the local level, this is why they can't enforce bylaws, because of A, B, and C. So when we spend this amount of money setting up an authority, this is how they will specifically solve problem A, B, and C.
I see where you're coming from, but I am not confident, especially when the issues cut across. So it links from one municipality to the other, one metropolitan assembly to the other. I mean, it's a whole, so I get it in terms, because of the nature of it, if we had like one office. But right now, as it is, maybe if it had been established, like the way you mentioned the Ghana Highway Authority, the Maritime, these are structures that have been there in existence. Maybe if we came to meet it, then
But also maybe some comparative study. How well are other authorities doing in executing their mandate? The fact that an authority exists, does that guarantee success? So yeah, maybe it's important for us to extend the conversation and try and figure out exactly how this is meant to pan out. All right, real quick, rest of the headlines from the Ghanaian publisher. Health Ministry recruits nurses for Barbados, and I hear there is going to be another recruitment for Germany. You remember we talked about this here, didn't we? When the health minister made those comments about how they will only send the experienced nurses because they don't want the trainees to go and disgrace us. Yeah. The newly trained ones, not trainees, but the newly trained nurses will disgrace us. So they'll send the experienced ones. I never insulted Northerners. That's the Greek minister still having to deal with that particular criticism of his comments. $600 million cocoa facility, minority questions, voice vote. Okay. No regret using oil revenues to fund free SHS, and that's the president speaking. All right, Daily Statesman is next. Anyway, I wanted to say something about the oil revenues thing, maybe another time. 4 oil companies in big trouble. That's the banner headline in the Statesman this morning. Apparently the Petroleum Commission, headed by Egbert Fable, are recommending the termination of petroleum agreements for various infractions. Wow, banking sector, now petroleum sector. Okay, Ghana had bankrupt record and future under Mahama, says President Akufo-Addo. He said a bit more than that as well.
We hope we've done our homework so that we're not just terminating. We know the consequences of that.
These are just recommendations.
Infractions.
I get it.
Infractions, y'all. Okay, voter chief lauds Ghana's economic progress under Akufo-Addo. And on the back page, my favorite footballer of all time, well, not of all time, my favorite Ghanaian footballer of all time.
Who's that?
Abedi Pele. He was 55 yesterday.
There's a big story here.
Oh, was it?
All you need to know about Abedi Pele on his 55th birthday. He dresses younger than most 20-year-olds. It doesn't matter whether it's jeans or a suit.
If you've got guys like he's got, you have to keep up.
That's true. Well, do you? Why must you keep up with your sons?
Oh, I mean, it's not a competition, but I'm sure they would make him feel young too.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. You small-minded people. Balotelli criticizes fans over racist abuse. I'm with him on that.
Yeah, he nearly walked off the match over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, why are we still grappling with this thing? In sports. Yeah, shocking. All right, Daily Graphic is the last one from me. Banner headline, coup plot allegations. 2 senior officers arraigned today. And we know who those 2 senior officers are. ACP Dr. Agozo and Superintendent Peter Lanchini Tubu, who is, of course, is a retired officer because he recently left the police force to enter politics. Okay, government pays Eastern Corridor contractors work to resume before year ends. That's according to the president. Hey, we have paid. Another suspected woman kidnapper in court. And that's on page 16 of the Daily Graphic this morning. Let's look at the back. Rains render 150 homeless at Achim Odan Zungu. And 30 Swidru protesters remanded in police custody. Remember, they were protesting in Agona Swidru over the past couple of days.
How many of them? I thought it was 12. Now they've
30 arrested, 30. According to this story. All
and
right?
it's over roads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roads are becoming a flashpoint issue in Ghana.
And I'm surprised nobody has noticed.
Look, I get
because in my community, some groups are coming up as well. They intend doing some protests, burning town.
Every single day, I get no less than 3 text messages or tweets or
me too
from people who are concerned about roads.
Some of them even add me to their groups. I have to exit, knowing that this is WhatsApp have become. So when they add me, immediately I exit. Then they'll come back. Why did you exit?
A venue for treason.
Yeah. If I'm not commenting on your group, please don't worry. Let me just quick do 2 of them. I have the Daily Guide. Daily Guide says fresh arrest in kidnappers case. Main story. What we call the banner headline: Nana mocks Mahama for poor record, and we have no more names or more names pop up in coup plots. President campaigns for yes votes. Now we go to the Gold Street Business. Gold Street Business, as the last paper, has the story: banks now safe havens for depositors' funds. Yeah, but we should ask the bank whether people are depositing more comparatively to years preceding now. Those are the questions we need to ask. No immediate plans for monetary tightening according to the Bank of Ghana. And those will be the stories we're looking at.
Okay, so there's a story in the final newspaper I want to touch on real quick. It's on page 5, and it's patients sharing beds at the Tatalin District Hospital. The head of the facility, the medical superintendent, Dr. Paul Ayebila, spoke to the Ghana News Agency. That conversation is captured in the final newspaper. And he talks about a hospital with a bed capacity of 31, and from 1st of November, they had to take 71. And as of the time they were having the conversation, that number had increased to 90. 90 people sharing a 31-bed capacity. What it means is that 2 patients, 2 are sharing beds, and in some instances, I'm not sure you see it really well in the paper because it's black and white, but 3 people are having to share 1 bed, and this is a hospital. And they also talk about challenges, including the fact that they don't have facilities for their medical personnel. And they actually share border. I mean, it's along the border with Togo, so they also have patients coming in from Togo, but the situation is dire. It's actually one that needs attention ASAP, because you can have people who are sick sharing a bed, and we're talking about, in some instances, 3 people sharing 1 bed, which is already small. So I thought I would talk about it. Hopefully that highlights will draw attention and will get the facility some assistance. Maybe we can do myjoyonline.com before we make way for sports. Any other story anybody wanted to touch on? Well, we'll talk about the police officers who have been arraigned today, the whole situation. We have the chair of the Defense Committee in Parliament coming into the studio, so we'll talk a lot more, and then we'll talk to all the other parties related to this particular subjects.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just going to say, you know, that comment I wanted to make earlier about the oil revenue. The president says he has no regret using the oil revenues to fund free SHS. I mean, look, he was determined to make it happen, so he made that decision. And maybe it's correct for him as a leader not to regret that. But we still have that question of the sustainability. Okay, since we discovered oil, we haven't made $4 billion from it. We haven't. But what is the bill for free SHS every year? 1.something billion cedis. Okay, so the question is this: how sustainable is it as a continuing source to fund free SHS? It isn't. So how are we going to sustain it? Someone has to answer that question.
The question.
Well, log on to myjoyonline.com where we have a lot more news right now. Though I still can't imagine. As at the time I was going to bed, Chelsea, you guys were down. It was 4-1, and I had my headline in my head, how I was going to tease and everything. Just
some of my friends had
woke up this morning and it's a draw. So how it happened, Benedict will tell us.
It's up next.